Well, I'd say that's just about enough of that. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's Wednesday. How you doing Wednesday? Obviously, lots of caffeine going through me right now. And it's just a nice day, you know? Had some rainy days. Anyways, let me get on track here. We're talking about kind of the scary side of theory for beginners and kind of busting some myths. And I'm just going to give my opinion on just some ideas I think that would help other players who are maybe venturing into the world of theory to not be so afraid of it, because some of the stuff can be pretty daunting. We're going to go ahead and dive into these. If you have your own tips for beginners, put them down in the comments. We'll get a whole, list compiled for all those people who are joining us in the realm of guitar. So, let's go. I always forget, tones. I'm using my Rev Dynamis today to get those sweet, sweet... Alright, the first one, you don't need it all. Now, obviously, you look at the whole realm of theory, and it is just beyond intimidating. You know, I know in the grand scheme of things, very, very little theory compared to someone like, say, Rick Beato, who, has an incredible, vast knowledge of theory and all this kind of stuff. And I think it's really important to know that you can learn as much theory as you want. You don't have to learn all of it. You don't have to know all these crazy jazz chords and stuff like that. I think that what happens is a lot of people, I know this from teaching. I've had people mention like, oh, I never really ventured into theory because it was so much, like so daunting of a task. And you really don't have to make it that, you can know as much or as little. Think about even playing guitar at all. If you know how to tune your guitar, you know some theory already. If you know how to play some chords, you know some theory already. There's as much to it there as you want to make it. Whatever level you want to get to with it, trust me, there's a never-ending amount of theory that you could use, and there's a never-ending amount of theory you could not use. So there you have it. Now this one kind of falls in the category of people who are afraid of, I think I did a separate video about this, will technique and theory ruin your feel? And, just because you know theory doesn't mean that you have to use it. I think people worry that it's like, it places you in this box. And to be fair, it does, permanently alter the way that you will play and look at the fingerboard, and the way notes correlate with each other. But it doesn't mean you have to use it all the time. I know personally, and I'm sure most guitarists will say this as well, there are many happy little accidents that happen, and I don't try to figure out why it makes sense. I just play it, and I'm like, I don't know, I like the way it sounds. It's a cool note. Just play it. Like, I don't know why I like the way that sounds, but I just do. And I'm not really looking at the theory beside it. Now, like I said, there is theory that I'm using for something like that. Obviously it's very pentatonic based. Sorry, I realize my delay is still on. I forgot to turn it off. It's just too far. I'll go out of focus if I reach it. So you got a delay strat today. But anyway, so we have that. But even like with that, I'm using some theory, but I'm also thinking rhythmically. I just want to rip it, I'm trying to go for that sound more than anything. Maybe I want like a little bit more of a rake in there. Like I said, that's more of a sound thing. It's not even using theory. That's probably more technique than anything. My nose keeps itching. But, just because you know some theory doesn't mean you have to just like live your life by the way of theory. You can turn it off. It is the thing that you can just kind of like step away from and just play and try different notes. And you don't have to always be utilizing theory to make stuff. You can always just just play. Next is that theory will only ever help you. I know, personally, I see it in the comment section all the time. I've been told this in person by many people, is that Hendrix didn't know theory, Jimmy Page didn't know theory, Eddie Van Halen didn't know theory. Well, for one, let's just all get on the same page. Those are legends, and those are incredibly gifted individuals. Now, I know that I fall very far away from that category of players, Now, like I said, did they need it? I don't know how much theory they had. They might have, the issue is nowadays with how much technology we have and just having the internet, is that they might have essentially been learning a different kind of theory. They might not have known that this was your major third and your flat seven. They might have known the kind of theory that we relate to way more now because it's just so easily accessible. But they might have had a lot more theory than what you think. I mean, Eddie played piano before he, played guitar. So his ear might have had more theory than maybe necessarily his knowledge of the way the notes were. And who knows? He's Eddie Van Halen. He could have had all kinds of theory. Same with Jimmy Page. Look at all the chords that Jimmy played. Jimi Hendrix, the way he played around the chords and stuff. It's like, I don't know. It sounded like a lot of theory. They might not have had the theory like written out in paper, but at the same time, like no one's ever going to have their ear. No one's ever going to have their intuition to play the stuff that they played. So I think that comparing yourself to one of those guys, those are one in a billion people that come along. So I'm not one of those guys. I need theory to help me. I like to be able to be like, okay, I want this sound. I always reference Lydian a lot because it's a very strong sound. I like to utilize that stuff. I like having those different flavors. A lot of these guys don't even view modally. They have a whole different kind of like chordal theory that they're kind of like basing a lot of this stuff off of. I was just talking to my buddy Brett Rapapa about the cage system, because I don't know what the cage system is. And he was explaining it to me. I'm like, oh, it makes a lot of sense. So it's something, I want to break down and learn. And, like I said, it's theory and all this stuff will never, ever hurt you as a player. Don't be scared off of it because someone tells you it's going to ruin your feel. Like, no. Your feel is developed on a whole different spectrum than that stuff. Like, there are plenty of other things that'll ruin your feel before learning some theory will. And the final thing I want to throw in here is, this is just a personal belief, but I really feel like theory is not a destination. It's a map, is really what it is, and you choose how you're going to get to where you want to go. Now, like I said before, you can turn it off. You don't have to use a map. Think of it that way. Like, if you are trying to get from Texas to South Carolina, now obviously a map is going to help you get there, but overall you can be like, okay, if I stay along the coast and kind of get there, and keep going east, eventually you're going to, run into it, in theory, but it's like, but a map is sure going to help you know how to get these different routes. What if a road's closed or something? And that's kind of how I view theory, is that it's just these maps all over the fingerboard. So like I said, I did Lydian a minute ago, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm playing over something that is this real, funky. So we have this, like I said, there's kind of like vibe to it. I'm like, okay, what do I play over that? Now you can of course just guess. You can guess around. But I'm gonna use a little bit of theory here, and there's different vibes I want. Like, so I'm leaning more towards a major kind of vibe. Now, if I don't know, even just knowing your major pentatonic. I'm going to mix in a little bit of Mixolydian, a little bit of a different flavor to it. I got my minor 7 in here now. So that's just kind of like off the cuff stuff, but like I said, without knowing theory, I couldn't do that stuff. There'd be a whole lot more wrong notes. There were already plenty of them in there. Imagine if they were more wrong than right. So that's just kind of like how I like I said, I like to vibe with that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, I like the major sign. I want some minor in here too. And then, you know, you could do straight minor over that, but I'm just kind of like, Mixolydian. I know my Mixolydian scale, so, you know, not that your pentatonics aren't great, but sometimes it's cool to have that more, you know, like 3-note per string approach. You know, all over it. So we have those. So anyways, there you guys go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, let me know if you have some tips of your own. Leave them down below in the comments. And yo, we're gonna get on out of here. If you're a beginner, like, yo, learn some theory, learn a little bit. You know, just get started on, get a little taste, and see how it goes, man. So I'll lay down some rhythm for you guys. Get your jam on here at the end. Try out some of this stuff, and I'll just see you next time. So later, homies. Whoop.